why should someone script it?
Think of some of the best presenters that you've ever seen. The TED Talks that get millions of views. Steve Jobs' famous product launch presentations. Do you think that those were scripted?
I think they were practiced. So yeah, at some point they were scripted, but then they were practiced.
You said the key word, practiced.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think the key is the practice component. But yeah, those famous Steve Jobs product launches and the TED Talks and stuff, you can guarantee that they all started by somebody writing down each word, each sentence, each paragraph, and then practicing and drilling and rehearsing so much that they didn't have to read it and no one would know.
Okay.
You know, it's analogous to, well, in Hollywood, when actors show up on a set, they're not asked to write a script. They're given a script beforehand that's written by a screenwriter, a professional person who writes stories for a living all day, every day. And the actor's just told, you know, go ahead and work your magic. Many of the most famous singers never wrote a song. Somebody wrote a song for them. And it's ironic to me that at software companies, we expect our SEs and AEs to be screenwriters or copywriters. They're not. So I just feel that it's incumbent on the sales leadership to give SEs and AEs a script for the demos and a bulleted version, because more tenured people will not need scripts. More tenured people want bullets, not scripts. But you know, then you have consistent messaging. Well, what happens now? Like, what's your knowledge when an SE starts a new job and they have to learn how to demo the software? What's some of the common things that take place to get them to learn to demo?
Well, from my experience is that they are not taught how to demo. They're taught what the product does. They're taught the technology. And some companies have, like, I wouldn't say like a little portion, small portion of companies have pre-canned demos or demos that they can just use with scripts. But most companies that I've seen, every SE has to create their own flow, even not even their own script, their own, what am I going to show when? Right. Then create their own script. So,
right.
So not only act, but think of the story, think of what's happening first, second, and third, and then how to get there.
Yeah, they're taught how the software works. And then maybe they're given some recordings of some of the top performers and say, hey, watch these, because these guys are great. You know,
I've actually never been given. I've never been given. I've asked for those. I've never been given that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. I've known a number of my clients have recordings of some of what they call their best practice demos, and that's part of new hire training.
Yeah, I wish I had that, but that's a different story. Okay.
But even then, what ultimately happens, I think, in many software companies, you have your classic bell curve, and the top performers demos, they naturally tell a story about a day in the life of the stakeholder before owning your software and owning your software. They naturally synthesize the features and benefits to that particular prospect's situation. And that's a wonderful thing. And then we say, but what about our middle majorities? Our middle majority, well, they tend to teach to use. Their demos are more like end user training, which is supposed to take place after the sale. So your top performers are naturally persuading to purchase. Your middle majorities, they don't just necessarily have that natural skill. So they can't easily synthesize the features and benefits to the stakeholder. They can't easily tell a story of the day in life pre and post using your software. They can't comfortably just talk about why your software is a better option than purchasing from a competitor or remain status quo. And the solution to that, to me, is, in the case of demos, scripting the demos, give those scripts to your middle majorities, and base those scripts on your top performers. But now you can give them to your middle majority, and now you can say, hey, here's how the demo should flow. Here's the words. Make this your own. Practice it. You can change it as you see fit, as long as the core message is being delivered. And back to your point, if people need to practice, drill, and rehearse, record themselves, play it back, do some brainstorming as a team. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find something to argue with you about, but I just can't.
Well, I can give you an example, because this happened to me. People say you can't script, you'll sound robotic, or our demos are too dynamic to script. And here's why I can agree. Early in my career, I attended sales training that I thought was fantastic. So I studied the books and I practiced a little bit and took it to heart. And then post-sales training, I went on a sales call with my manager. And after the call, we're in person, so we're driving back to the office. And Steve Swantek says to me, "What happened to Brian?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I thought I was on a call with robo salesperson." So I wasn't myself. Up to that date, I sold lots of software. I had done well, and I just was me as a person. And then when I took this training to heart and tried to use that training on a live sales call, but I really hadn't truly internalized it, though I need to have practiced. I hadn't really made it my own. I sounded like robo salesperson. So trust me, I learned from that little coaching lesson.
Well, that's the thing that I see, that I think I talk about it a lot. Like, I think people might be getting annoyed by me talking about it, but whenever we learn something, we never practice it. And like, sales engineering is a sport, right? You learn something, you have to practice it. And if you don't practice it, you're going to practice it live in front of customers, because it's not going to be perfect. You're going to be messing up throughout that practice. The whole point of practice is to try out different things, to internalize it, try to understand it, to see, okay, this worked for me, this didn't. Let me say something else here. And also to practice when things go bad. We were talking, like, what if the system crashed? We should have a script for that. And
Absolutely.
we should actually memorize that.
Yeah.
But we don't. Some do, but most people practice when everything's gone well. And if something crashes, they just restart.